Legends Limited Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. The history of this character is something that is profound through the ages and, in my personal opinion, a little bit hilarious. If you do not know anything about how this character emerged when they first released to where they are now, I'm here to give you a little rundown synopsis and, well, breakdown of how this character was perceived, used, and, well, unused for his time frame of his entry, his re-entry, his departure and leaving, and then re-entry again to where we have now crossed the roads of probably the end of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I couldn't see a situation, at least currently, that his, again, the Legends Limited only, clearly might get an Ultra during his anniversary, but I cannot see a situation where this character actually gets a resurgence from here on until he would get a new unique plat in years and years to come. This is the history of one of, if not the actual worst anniversary headliner on initial release for Legends Limited documentary of their history. So what can we say about Legends Limited Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on initial release? Well, he released on the 3rd anniversary in 2021 alongside Crotamer's Masu on another banner with a couple fusions. Right? You got Kefla, Purple, Vegeta Blue, very iconic character there. And to summarize that entire part 1 of 3rd anniversary, it was terrible. Almost every unit that came out alongside these Legends Limiteds and these 1% was not good. They were all basically fusions, right? That was cool, I guess, for fusion buffs, but they weren't very good. Kefla just had minute issues that were just whatever. You just didn't want to deal with them, and they were just stronger characters. And that was exactly what happened throughout every character. Now, there was a, little gold mine of CMZ. Definitely was better than the rest of his cast members that dropped alongside him again in all this fusion stuff that went down. But G4, it was a fate unexpected by most. It was a thing hoped by many that this character actually was really, really good initial release. But as time went through, as we went through the time frame of ages and usage, we saw that why would you need him? I mean, really, why did you need him at all? I remember having this guy at 6 stars, because red stars are already in the game, big problem of the game, yada, yada, yada. But I remember having this guy at 6 stars, and let me tell you, it was miserable. It was disappointing. There was really no semblance of usage for him. I don't even think this character was top 10 on this release. Now, we're talking about, like, really bad anniversary headliners that maybe got better over time, etc. So we look at Goku Frieza, right? They were the previous, just prior to this next anniversary that's coming up soon. They were top 10. They were in the lower bunch, like 7, 8 or something like that. I remember that. But they were top 10. G4, I'm like 99% certain no one considered this guy top 10. There were other greens from past that are much better. Zenkais actually were a pretty solid thing going on at that point. Obviously, over time, Zenkais got balanced to being overpowered, to bad, to great, to mediocre, to now actually being pretty solid, and that'll be its own thing one day soon. But G4, on initial release, I know 2 things that this guy did. And I think it's still valid to even say he might just be only good at those things right now. Very high damage reduction. I believe it was, extra 30% on the first combo taken. So he just did taps, by the way, just taps. It was gone, so you could kind of go through that. And he was a very good ult machine. Kind of a Legends Limited Vegeta Blue on Zenkai, right? He was very good ult machine, LMVB. G4 is very good ult machine because he went type neutral on his main. He had some defense neutrals on his own entry, so he was good at, like, okay tanking. But again, he was a defense type. Legends Limited, what were they thinking? He's not going to tank. You need stars. I don't know what they were expecting. And then you also drop a part 2, which is a purple, given it to revive. So G4 is better because he wants to pop revives to get his Dragon Ball unique there on the second unique. By the way, he only has 1 unique ability. His second unique, at least pre-Zenkai, obviously, was and is very bad. He does nothing on his second unique. It literally is you could remove it and it would be the same exact character. I mean, you lose 2 Dragon Balls, but it'd be the same exact character on its own merit. It is terrible. But they drop Revhan, who is infinitely better banner, for one. You got Goku, was very good against Revhan. Where are the glasses? There they are. Goku even better against Revhan than G4 would have been. You got Bojack, who's very good with Gohan. Like, G4 dropped with these fusions that don't even, like, work with him. Like, yeah, okay, Kefla was red, or CMZ was red, and that's, like, color synergy. Oh, that's it. That's it. Lackluster synergy to a very high extent. You also have Revhan being as good as he is. You got everything else that's just falling through the edges of just units from the past being better than him at the current merit of his initial droppage. And it's just like, dude, what were they thinking? I don't think they were thinking at all. G4 on initial release was a terrible character, the worst anniversary headliner to this date on initial release. There is no debate, no argument, no nothing. He was coped, he was defended, and, well, summary, he was not good, and he needed that plat. But soon after he got that plat, oh, things changed. It's like the Fire Nation attacked, the G4 Nation attacked. They got their vengeance. Now, G4 Post Plat, man, what a buff. This was something unprecedented, unknown, but maybe a little bit expected. I mean, look, you look at your anniversary headliner, a Fumble. We've seen this. We've seen this with other characters in more recent times. Obviously, you look at Orange Piccolo. People weren't very happy with him. Okay, buff, plat time. Look at Goku Frieza, literal full game buff because, well, they weren't selling so much, so they buffed them, so they want to increase their sales. You know, valid things to happen, but G4, this plat equip, it'll be on screen, obviously. What in the world? Like, it was understandable he needed buffs. He was just a one-time defender, big-time ult guy, and, well, kind of mediocre from there. There wasn't really much else need for him in the entire match. I mean, could you think of something? I could not personally. I guess cover changes were helpful, but we were getting a lot more cover changes anyways. We already had quite a bit prior to him, so it was a head-scratch type character, but that pod equip, I mean, this guy went from, what was it? Bottom 30, not bottom 30, bottom 30, like, you know, of recent characters of, maybe even LS, I guess you could say, of recent characters, though, of, like, the last 6 months to top 2, top 5 on plat. I mean, this plat was ridiculous. You look at G4's plat, then you look at, actually, LF Cell, fun fact, I'm pretty sure their damage numbers on the literal damage inflicted portion is very similar. LF Cell got his plat months later. That goes to show how finished the G4 was, for one, but how much and such care they wanted for this guy. Now, G4 got his plat, what was it, 3 months down the line for this release, 3 to 4 months around there, and if you don't believe me on how broken he was, here's a GT main throwing in his little snippet of information, who was like, what in the world is going on here? Oh my god, that plat. Here's his thoughts.
I was a little bit starstruck at first because, you know, it's my favorite character. I'm going to think he's going to be the best in the game. And that was not it at all. He came out, maybe for a couple of weeks, he was really good. And then Revhan came and just shut him down. It wasn't even close. I don't know why they made him defense. Maybe if they made him offense, he might have been a little bit better. But with him being defense, and it was interesting, we didn't have too many revive units at that time. We still don't really have a crazy amount of revive units. But he would get like the extra Dragon Balls health when you pop the revive for those certain units. So I was still kind of interesting why he got that in his kits, but you know, the animations for him were really good. LF was great, but then Revhan came, like I said before, then he was gone, like nowhere near. Then his plat came, and he was good for it. Correct me if I'm wrong, for almost about a year. He was good for a long, long time. That plat made him so much better, giving him strike, blast, and defense. We get extra Dragon Balls. He gets the extra inflicted damage when that pops off. So much stuff was good going for G4. Then, for a while, GT didn't get anything. And you really weren't running him anymore. There were so many just better units in Dragon Ball Legends that he was just kind of a non-factor at all. And then even when in 2022, when we were starting to get our buffs, you think, okay, maybe this would be our time to get something. Maybe for G4, maybe he get his Zenkai at this time. No, we got Hellfighter 17, we got the Tag 4s, and then Forku was the Zenkai, and he was just going off for a while. But we're not talking about him, we're talking about G4. You still couldn't really run G4 because he just wasn't doing any damage at all whatsoever. Even with that Plat, back then it was really good, but all the new gauges and the new mechanics and just knew everything that all these units had, G4 could not keep up at all whatsoever. The best thing about him was his ult. You're neutral for the ults. He gets like 100 sustained damage cut, 100%, and his ult was very good. And you can't deny that is one of the strongest ults in the game. But that was all he had. And after that, damage not there whatsoever. Nothing. And the only card draw speed he got was during his main ability. Now, when he got his Zenkai, yeah, he shot up. Again, he was good for maybe about a month, maybe a month and a half. And just looking at what I've been talking about from when he was released, and then Revhan came, then he got his Plat, and then a long time before his Zenkai, he was just on a roller coaster, just up, down, up, down, up, down. Now he's getting kind of on the down right now, but it's interesting to see one of my favorite characters just literally go up, down, and now possibly we could be seeing Ultra Gogeta 4, but we don't know about that. But that is just my initial thoughts. Like I said, just what I think of G4 and how he has been portrayed in Legends by at least having one of the hardest hitting ults in the game with the times 100 Big Bang Kamehameha, and he's mostly one of the everybody's favorite fusions. I know you got VB, you got Super Gogeta, Gogeta Blue. G4 is up there as one of the favorite fusion warriors, just in Dragon Ball itself. So that is just my initial thoughts on G4.
You know, I could bash him all I want, Mr. G4, on his initial release and how his execution was not very good. But that plot execution, they cooked up. G4 was minimum top 5 in my opinion at that point. Probably top 3, probably even higher. I mean, Revhan was still being Revhan, and, you know, hybrids and Super Saiyan 2 Gohans were still doing their thing, but G4, I mean, he left CMZ in the dust. You look at those 3rd anniversary headliners, CMZ, G4, Revhan, it was CMZ 67 miles back, G4 neck and neck with Gohan, and it was just, like, you couldn't even expect something like this. A very good plot. And then the team this guy got, if you played back then, you know, but I'll go over it here. Probably one of the most cancer setups of a Saiyan roster that could exist. And Saiyans usually is a very good team, like 90% of the year. So you could imagine this was a pretty toxic scenario he was allowed in. The Team 4, Legends Limited Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, at his peak primal area of usage was green, yellow. Oh my days. If you don't know who I'm referring to as that trio, it is OG Super Saiyan 2 Goku, which, by the way, fun fact, also suffered the fate of very, very, very terrible release. This character was one of the worst, just original Legends Limited to be released in the entire game. Yeah, he was really, really bad. And on Zenkai, very much fixed. G4, on Plat, very much fixed. So they really liked these greens Legends Limited. They really wanted to fix them up to be spiffy and genuinely near perfect. The other ones being G4, obviously himself, and then Halo Vegeta. This entire team was neutral. You look at their main abilities, they all neutral. Alright, OG3 pop main, 10 counts neutral, I believe it is. G4, his entry, I think he has 3 entries of defense neutral, then a type neutral, 15 counts overall on his own main ability. So type neutral everywhere. Then Halo Vegeta, pop main ability, also go type neutral. This team, for, I guess, continuity's sake, was unkillable. I mean, it was either you faced this team and you were using it and it was just a timer match, or you faced this team, you weren't using it, and you were murdered. G4 with his Plat was entering your soul and then making a crevice within your corpse and murdering you. Then you had OG3, every time the enemy swaps, he was building up his ult damage, and this was not a, up to 50%, up to 60%. His ult damage, his ult damage stacked infinite. So you could theoretically swap and do his ult with like 170 counts deep into the match. There's 10 counts left. Okay, boom, we do this ult. It's been 15 goddamn swaps. Like, ridiculousness that went on throughout. Then Halo Vegeta offered so much key on his supportiveness, on his healing prospects he gave. He literally gave extra key to Goku, I'm pretty sure. So Goku would just get like 100 key on his own entry. He would have cardinal speed, he would infinite combo, G4 would be the tank, G4 would be the damage, G4 would be murdering everything. All my days pre the Legends Fest of Sword of Hope and Goku Vegeta, and then over time USG. That roster, that trio, mega uber destruction, cancer, and just power. That was, again, one of the most toxic Saiyan teams in the entire game. We look at like mono purple Saiyans with GV that happened. Look at like fusions because they're technically Saiyans. I could not remember a time I would not want to go back to more than green, yellow, or an FSK type of Gohan type of meta. It's between those two. It's really just those two. It was so treacherous to play. A lot of people were actually, well, happy about it because G4 finally got his respect. He finally got his team. He finally got his area to shine. It was near 4 to 5 months later, to be fair, because Legends Fest is 6 months from the anniversary. So it took a minute, fine. But that was... that had to be one of the worst times. If you were trying to play Legends, and this is all before automatic mechanics and stuff like that, on just a genuine gameplay aspect of trying to fight each other, this was a tough time frame to play. It was really good for G4. Again, top 3, maybe even top 2 at that point. But this... you were not having a good time playing against G4. He was very good, but this character... he got fixed from his initial release. From his treacherously terrible, awful beginning of really unusableness compared to other, anniversaries past, and then his own kind of part of CMZ, he got fixed. But man, what an overfixing, because OG3 coup with G4 at that point, it was a tough time to be around back then. Now, unfortunately, we have gone to this character's descent. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Well, green, yellow did shine, and he was there, and that was one of the most obnoxious teams you could face in near history of Dragon Ball Legends. It did slowly fade, just like any other. But what came next was tough times. Again, you got GV, USG, Sword of Hope, and clearly things are going to happen where it's a celebration. Every 6 months we're going to have a big power creep, or at least some power creep, things prior to it, and then inevitably G4 fell off. Now, he did have some usage. You could cope kind of a situation with USG, G4, and then just slap on a third, whether it be a post leader slot, whether it be just any other fusion at that rate, because we were getting at least USG, so it was a duo right there that was pretty solid. I do believe, actually, LF Bardock released soon after, and then there's intention, Legends, their intention, really specifying this here, was to, they wanted you to use LF Bardock, G4, and USG together, I believe, and the point being, G4 was already falling down, right? His usage was kind of falling off, but their intention was that you'd use G4's ult, you would sack off G4 to the rush, and then Bardock, then he would get his endurance, USG could get his type neutral for his entries, and then you kind of had that blue-yellow duo. It didn't work. Bardock was terrible, but it was coped. I coped it, personally. But that's really where G4 kind of ended his line, right? It took a lot of time for him to get anything coming toward him. Obviously, you got GT getting buffs with the tag 4s, with Forku Zenkai, with these things, and that was good. But G4 wasn't good enough. I mean, even the Green Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the one that got a Zenkai, the ranged one, he was used on a green, yellow, the tag force Forku, and himself, more than even G4. At that rate, G4 just wasn't good enough. But then, more recent than not, G4 got his Zenkai, and well, just like with his Plat, things changed yet again, and this guy became a monster. Now, G4 on Zenkai definitely was not as perfect as he was once on his Plat equip of just, again, that situation of his best team being green, green, yellow. Just, again, in his entire history, that was his best team so far that we have just been through. But he definitely did get modernized, right? Obviously, with LF Zenkais, there was much of a turn of, again, them being amazing on initial release, and even just overall Zenkais, but LF Zenkais more. Amazing initial release, and then they kind of went to a bad route with like LF Rose, VB, which is an old machine. Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta was not amazing compared to others. LFSV was literally there just to Zenkai buff LFGV, and they kind of hit a downturn. But Forku found their footing. G4 was also a very good LF Zenkai, got modernized things, got things that he needed to be relevant to this day. But unfortunately, the fate that has fallen through for this character, while he is a pretty good Zenkai around the likes of Jiren, 8 Vegeta, and G4 all getting Zenkais within a couple months span of one another, he hasn't aged as gracefully. I don't think this character ever kind of had that feel for him. Again, you look at his initial release, he's much more kind of pandered in a sense to this defensive-esque role. Yes, he can do an ult. Yes, he has 100% cup pen. Great stuff. He has double blue cards. He has good things for damage. But he much more felt this damaging role on the sideline compared to his defensive role that he much more had in the defense neutral entries with the big cut. With so much type neutral, he felt like a much more defensive type of guy. And on Zenkai, again, he was good. He was good for a few months. But he was not this echelon of greatness. He was much more, again, what people would call an ult machine. Now, I don't think that's fully true. Respect to this character just a tad bit more than I think others give. This guy did pretty solid strikes. His blue card did pretty well. Very solid to use. Even now, to an extent, there is a couple of revivals. You look at Cell running around now, but Vegeta just came out. While he is green, he can still pop their revive, right? It's not like it's against the thing. And while he's not this, again, peak of power, I do think he's at least decent. This is kind of funny enough, we go full circle with this. His Zenkai, his power right now, is kind of the bare minimum I expected what is released to be. Nothing overwhelming, nothing crazy, because we had a really, really crazy time just with characters at that point of Zenkais in 3rd anniversary. It was just really tough to power creep these units, but we expected Anniversary to do it. It didn't, Part 1 didn't, Revon did, but Part 1 didn't. G4 now feels like what he could have been back then, and it would have been yeah, he's not the greatest. Yeah, he's a little bit underdone, but it's nothing too bad. We can kind of go through these misses and kind of avoid them, especially with what we've seen recently. I mean, goddamn, look at Evo Ken. You don't want to talk about bad aging, right? That's a bad aging character. It's not an anniversary, but there's a celebration, a big one. So G4, again, throughout time, all this 3-year span of his existence, about to be a little bit more than that now, it has been a little bit of a rough road from bad to pretty good to really good, because that green, yellow team, to, pretty good again. But now, just all right. Again, I don't think this character's resurgence can happen. We think logically here. He's got his Zenkai, he's got his Plat. His Plat's not that old comparably to what he is, because it came out very soon after. You look at his Zenkai is only a couple months old at this rate. What else could be done? And that's not to say he's bad, or that, there's no point to even ever own him at this rate. No, he's still solid enough. But man, we look at anniversary headliners, and we think this is supposed to be the echelon of PvP for at least a little bit of time. Just a little bit. We're supposed to just be thinking that, because that's when you introduce new things. New players, new things, do it now. Great. Logic. I love that. What they did was, it's 3rd year, and you know what we're doing? The same old thing we just did a month ago. It was tough. But, again, for now, he is at least solid. Good enough for what his lifespan has been. It's just been a roller coaster. Undeserving for a fusion. You look at UVB, all these Ultras. I mean, maybe G4's the next Ultra, who knows. But, look at all these Ultras. It's just a little tough to see that, of any, the most powerful character in non-canon, but still most powerful character for decades for a lot of Dragon Ball fans was Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and him to be so underwhelming on drop to finally being at least very good at one point of his, daily existence with Green Yellow. It was just a tough pill to swallow. But that is his history. I do think G4 is at least a character deserving a much greater, hoping his Ultra would have much more prowess, just like a UVB who was tied for #1 with Goku Frieza when they were both on Featured Boost, right? That was the thing that existed. Or USG being top 1, or USV for at least... I was going to say USV, but I mean, he had a little short time frame USV, right? I guess he could run G4, USV, USG. Like, that was a thing, but, that didn't really work because cooler, and then Blue Beast, and then, well, fuck everything at that rate. They just didn't care. But, most Fusions get some time in their limelight on their peak initial drop. Hopefully, Ultra Gogeta 4, if he is this anniversary, next festival, whatever it is going to get that. Legends Limited Gogeta 4 has had a rough trial and tribulation through his lifespan, and his lifespan probably has near ended, or is just approaching that end now, with how Power Creep is about to emerge, and how he is a Zenkai already with a Plat. It's been a tough time for him. Let me know what you think of this history of Legends Limited Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I'll see you guys in the next one.